This is a complicated problem. I'm not going to sit on the fence with it. I'm going to tell you real quick. The idea of the militia being in town, I think that could have stopped before it ever got started. I really believe this whole thing is a civil case, not a criminal case. They had civil warrants out for Bundy's cattle and his property. There's a lot of things you can do with the civil case. I believe the sheriff could have just as easily gone to district court here in southern Nevada and asked for an injunction if once this got out of hand and we saw that the militia were coming in and the BLM was there and the size they were. Listen, as sheriff, you don't get to pick and choose what's the law. The law is written. That's what you have to go ahead and enforce. I don't think it should have ever got that far. I think what could have happened if I was sheriff, very, very, very simple. When I'm sheriff, very simple. As soon as you know things are starting to boil up, just sit down, talk to everybody on each side, go to the Bundy area, go to their home, say, look, here's where we are, where we're at, here's what we have. Now listen, you can do this. You can either succumb to what's going on here, or else you can go to jail. These are warrants for your cattle and for you for obstructing justice. I actually really believe that nobody has a right in America to just stop people on a roadway. The militia, some people say it's not happening. I had relatives actually try to get in the Valley of Fire when this was going on, and they were stopped by a non-uniformed person wearing a bandana around his head, a bandolera of ammo around their chest, and told them they weren't able to proceed any further. And they had automatic weapons with them. It's like, come on, this is America. You don't stop people from going to Walmart, to church, or anywhere else. I really believe, as sheriff, you have the duty and the right, the authority, the power to stop this kind of action. And the way you stop this action, you enforce the law. We cannot go with anarchy. It's just not a possibility.
I'm a firm believer that it's not my job to search out the candidates.
Bobby G for sheriff.
It's been a lot of work for position.
This is Bill Roman for sheriff, and Bill Roman is addressing the letter that Stephen Horsford sent to Sheriff Gillespie. And as you know, Bill, that the letter simply stated that Sheriff Gillespie opened an investigation into the events in Bunkerville that led to these large problems, and that also after based on the investigation, that he also take appropriate action.
I would, if I were the sheriff, and I was asked that same question, I would not initiate an investigation. I believe in states' rights. I believe that whatever's happened so far, I'm on the side of the Bundys. I even have a sign at my house that I keep on my refrigerator that indicates I support the Bundys, and I do. Again, I believe in states' rights.
May I ask you a further question?
Yes, you may.
Are you aware of the U.S. Constitution?
Am I aware of it?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Would you realize when you take public office that you have to swear an oath to uphold the Constitution?
I do.
There are certain areas in the Constitution itself, not the amendments, the Constitution itself. It indicates the due process of law, which is through the jurisprudence section of it. It also gives the right of the U.S. government, to address these matters in a court of law, that provides the rights over states and individuals over property. Now that's what it says in the U.S. Constitution. I can be more specific, if you want to be specifically not to be able to adhere to that, please make me understand why.
I believe, as I said, I believe in states' rights. I believe this is a civil matter, and they didn't follow due process. To send in American soldiers, so to speak, members of the BLM that are armed against civilians is not something I can support. And you may say it is or isn't a constitution, but for me, as I said, it's states' rights. So everything that the Constitution doesn't talk about specifically is left to states' rights. And my position is that I support the Bundys. I believe it's a civil matter. I believe that our government should not come in and at the point of a gun try to enforce the law.
Do you support the Bundys in the statement that covers their recognition of the federal government?
No. No.
I mean,
I support
Cliven
the-
Bundy specifically stated that he does not recognize the United States government,
I don't support that. I
but,
recognize it.
but he recognized the power of the sheriff, so,
He does.
yes.
I would tell you that. I'd stick to my original statement. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't get involved in that. I wouldn't do what Congressman Horsford asked to be done.
So the district courts, which is on the bench, there are elections, I mean, there are judges that have been elected by the people in the state of Nevada that are sitting in these district courts that have come to the conclusion that the Bundy claims are without merit. You as a sheriff then would have to enforce these claims against Bundy, or would you deny that to the public?
It's a civil matter. It's not a question of denying it. It's a question of if you're the sheriff, you have to make certain decisions. Very plain spoken. This is a civil matter. What Mr. Bundy should have done was to pay the fees. And that's the one thing that he did he shouldn't have done.
So when it comes to things like foreclosures and other things which are civil matters, the sheriff will not be involved in any of those things?
The sheriff is not involved in those things.
All right.
That's
So-
the constable's office.
Oh, I see. And the constables are not part of the sheriff's office, obviously. Okay,
That's it.
thank you.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, I made more statements than I allowed you to.